Is this a cruel twist of fate or something more sinister? Charles Evans spent less than 3 years behind bars for killing his fiancée, Alicia. Now he's moved state and is living in the same neighbourhood as his victim's grieving family.
Some of my family are terrified of him. He has a history of domestic violence. He's done it to his ex-wife, he's done it to my sister. And all I can say is this bloke will repeat again.
In shorts and thongs, he looks like any ordinary bloke, but Charles Evans has an ugly history.
My sister called 000 and asked for the police to come to the property because he was drunk and abusive. By the time the police got there, my sister was deceased. She'd been crushed between a water tank and a motor vehicle that he was driving.
Bronson Little and his partner Lauren were so scarred by what happened to Bronson's sister Alicia 4 years ago, they say they moved from Victoria to Queensland. Now the man who killed Alicia has followed them. Evans moved to Queensland approved before the border was even open.
How in God's name can a convicted criminal get approval to move to Queensland in these current times, when a family member that's just lost somebody across the border can't even cross the state to get in?
Yeah.
But yet a convicted criminal has been granted approval to come into this state.
My son moved up to Queensland to get away from here, to get safe. Now it's followed him.
Down in Victoria, Bronson's mum Lee is worried for her family up north. Lee Little was the last one to speak to Alicia by phone literally minutes before she was killed at this Kyneton property around 90 kilometres from Melbourne.
I said to her, do you want us to come? Do you want us to come? And she said, no, but Mum, I've got this. My bags are packed, they're at the door.
Minutes later, Evans took Alicia's phone, got into his ute and drove at his fiancée, crushing her between the car and a water tank. He also ran over her before fleeing the scene. Police arrived 16 minutes later to find Alicia, who could not be saved.
He fled the property. He left.
Yeah.
He was at the local pub having a beer while the police were there trying to revive my sister.
Being left there like roadkill. How can you do that to somebody that you're supposed to love?
Police charged Evans with murder, but when the case went to court, prosecutors struck a deal downgrading Evans's charges to dangerous driving causing death and failing to render assistance. In return, Evans pleaded guilty and was jailed for 4 years, outraging Alicia's family.
Angry that our daughter's life was only worth 4 years, but he only did 2 years, 8 months.
Well, he got more for losing his licence. They gave him a 5-year disqualification of his licence.
And of course, now he's been paroled after less than 3 years. How angry are you about that?
That was a kick in the guts. I couldn't believe he got parole. And the excuse that we got was because of COVID.
Then the biggest shock for the family, Charles Evans has not only moved to Queensland, he's moved south of Brisbane, not far from Bronson. Here he is, caught on camera visiting government departments as he starts a new life. So how creepy is it to think that Evans is now living literally 20 minutes away?
Well, it's scary. My sister's 2 youngest children living the next suburb over, and I'm 20 minutes from there. It's pretty scary. I've got family that live in the same street.
In the same street?
Same street.
When Charles Evans was sentenced, the judge quoted the words Lee Little heard Evans say while she was on the phone to her daughter Alicia moments before Alicia was killed. Lee was urging her daughter to call the police, and in the background she hears Evans say, "Bring your brothers, bring your uncles, I don't care. I'm a Evans. I'll go through the lot of them."
I've got family up there. I am so worried about them.
Some of Lee's family are too concerned to speak publicly. Others, like Bronson, are taking steps to avoid any contact with Evans.
I've got protocols in order already, so I'm in the process of an ABO getting put out at the moment, so all my paperwork will be in order, so I don't want to see him or go anywhere near him.
Making life even harder, the fact that Bronson's family and Evans's family both work in the same industry, providing amusement rides and food outlets at agricultural shows.
We've actually changed our industry. So we've moved from agricultural shows now. I don't travel anymore. I stopped travelling because of that reason. I just don't want conflict with the family.
I forget how many times he was charged with domestic violence.
Kim Birmingham was in a relationship with Evans for 24 years before he was engaged to Alicia Little. Kim says she left Evans after what she claims was a brutal attack which left her fearing for her life.
He grabbed me by the throat and choked me, and I kept saying I couldn't breathe, and I passed out. I believe that Charlie would have killed me that day if my two children didn't jump on his back and pull him off me.
Kim lives in New South Wales, so her story couldn't be used in Alicia's case, prompting Bronson to try and raise awareness about Charles Evans' past and campaign for a national domestic violence register.
Now, he's out of our head, and our main focus now is domestic violence, because we know that was the reason.
Yeah.
Anyone makes a domestic violence call to 000 and says somebody's been abusive and drunk, can you get them off my property? That's domestic violence.
Yeah.
Our main focus now is to move forward and be an advocate for domestic violence.
I want a national database all over Australia, the same as pedophiles, the same as arsonists. Because if we had that, then these perpetrators couldn't go state to state and do it again.
If you did run into Charlie, what do you think you'd say to him?
I wouldn't even give him one breath. I'd just
No.
walk straight past him.
Nothing at all.
Not worth the time of day?
Not at all.
Not worth the time of day.
Not at all.
They've got some good ideas, don't they? And if you or someone you know is experiencing sexual abuse or family violence, there is help. Call 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732.